All right, I was speaking on mute. Good afternoon once again, everyone. I'm streaming live from Ogun State in Nigeria. Okay, so how many of us are willing to learn today new things? How many of us are willing to unlearn, archaic things that are not working for us, and we want our lives to get better and the lives of the children that we also have to get better? How many of us are also willing to relearn those things that we know that are working and then you want to make them continue to work for you? So today we'll be speaking on a very crucial topic, and as we will be speaking on understanding the uniqueness of your child. Hiya. How many of us are willing to learn great things, great insights today from today's topic? And this is what we'll be doing today. We want to learn about the uniqueness of your child. Who is your child? How unique is your child? How different is your child A from child B that you have got and child C that you have got? How can you relate with them and make the best to come out of them? This is what we will be talking about today. I hope you are ready. And if you are ready, say, yeah, yeah, I am ready. And for me, I am ready here today. I believe you are also ready. And at any point in time where any of the things that is said here resonate so well with you, I'd like you to just quickly send in your best emoji as we do this together. All right, so confirm you can see my screen now because I'll be displaying my screen, believing that we'll be able to learn together from it. All right, understanding the uniqueness of your child. Many people want to get married. Many people loves to have children. Many people aspire to be the mother of two, mother of one, mother of 12, as the case may be. But how prepared are you to be able to raise these children the way they should? Truly, there's the way the child to go. But do you know the way the child that he or she is expected to go? And if you do, how well and how willing are you to also become who should parent that child to the right version, that that child should be? Because for everything your child should be, you also must change. For every change you expect in your child to come, you also must change. And that change you want to happen in your child needs to begin with you. And you must be ready to go through that route of becoming who you should become so that your child can become who they should become. I know that might be like, what am I saying? Yes, it's the truth. You hear parents say that I want my children to be obedient, I want my child to be loving, I want my child to be kind, and all of those things. The question is, are you those things? Because any skill you lack, your children are going to also lack it. Now, as we move further, today we'll be talking about the various types of child that exist, their characteristics, the areas of career that they can go into and flourish, and your own role as a parent, what you will have to do to make them turn out better. These are things we'll be talking about today. And again, today, you need to know that your child has a purpose. Every child that is born, whether the parent prepared to have them or not, they already have a purpose in the heart of God. God made them even before they were conceived in their mother's womb to be a certain thing or to do an assignment, which we call a purpose. But do you even have an idea of what that purpose is for that your child? If you don't, you would want your child to run a, a cat race, a race that has not been divinely orchestrated for that child. We've heard our parents say, I wanted to be a medical doctor because in my time I wanted to actually be a medical doctor, but I could not. And so they pass their trauma to their children. At the end of the day, the child struggles, and eventually turns out either ways, good or bad. And you know the story. You know how it ends. Many times, even some of them even dust their exams and pass excellently well, but inside of them, there's still a voidness like this is not me. So they are living another person's life. So you need to understand that your child has a purpose, your child has an assignment, and you need to help them discover that assignment, that purpose that they must do on the head, because that is why you are a parent. And this is why I say most often that the best time to learn parenting is even when you are single. The best time to learn the skills, to imbibe the skills, to have all that it takes to be a parent is not when you are not carrying a pregnancy, or when you not have your first child, and when you turn first mom or first dad. You know how people begin to flaunt it everywhere. Oh, I'm now a new mom, I'm now a new dad, I'm now a dad and this. You are a potential dad or mom the day you say yes, I do. So even before that day, you should begin to learn what it takes to become a potent and an intentional parent that will help the destiny of your child to become what it should be, not the other way around. Now, no matter the type of child you have, one of the things you must train yourself to do is to parent that child. Some of us have children that are strong-willed, and maybe you are that kind of parent that you are very cool, calm, easygoing, cool and collected. But your child will drag you because this child is full of energy. You say, go here, the child say, no, no, go. You say, go here, say, but why should I do? And you're like, what kind of child is this? And then many of us keep going here and there praying and thinking everything is about prayer. Yes, prayer is good, but it is just that you lack knowledge. Because one of the things you need in parenting is for you to have sufficient knowledge. So when you have this knowledge, like we're discussing today, one of the things that will happen to you is for you to know that, oh, this is the kind of child I have. Strong-willed child, okay, I've got the solution to handle you. That's when you're skilled. But if you are not, you just struggle and you will struggle. At the end of the day, what will happen is that you will just damage that child emotionally, damage that child, and you maybe even abuse the child physically. And at the end of the day, the child is no longer the original that God made the child. So we are co-creators with God, and as this is true, you need to understand your role in co-creating with God. God has laid the foundation of the life, the destiny of the child. So it is your duty to discover who this child is in God. Once you have this understanding, it helps you to be able to help this child to go in that route of what has been written concerning him, even before the child was conceived in the womb. So you also have a grace that we call refiner's anointing. You know how crude gold is when we see it at the first instance, when it's been taken from the ground, it's always very dirty, it's not looking attractive, you can't even want to come and pay anything for it. But as crude as that is how every of the child you're going to have or you have will be. So, but it is your own duty to refine the crudeness in the life of your child to become a gold that even kings from far and wide will come and pay homage to that child that you have got. And until kings begin to rise and to the brightness of the destiny of your child, then you have not started working. So one of the things you must know that is your assignment is that you must be ready to do what? To bring your child from the place of crudeness to the place of destiny fulfillment, to the place where the child have been transformed. Because there's a journey of transformation that should happen for that your child. Now, let's now talk about these different types of child that exist. We'll talk about their characteristics and their prospects. All right. Now, there's the child called the creative child that Tim LaHaye, based on his analysis, said they are the sanguine children. There is the child called intimidating or courageous child. There's another one called the systemic child that Tim LaHaye called melancholy. There is the child called the dependable child or the sensitive child. That's Tim LaHaye called phlegmatic child. Let's cruise one after the other as we begin to dissect the characteristics and the expected behaviors of this individual child so that you can be able to discover the kind of child you've got. News flash: if you have 3 children, they possibly will not have the same they possibly will not be the same type of children based on this classification today. And they possibly would not also have the same characteristics This is why they might not all become an architect, or they might not all go into science, they might not all go into art, they might not all go into commercial, as the case may be. Because who you are determines the kind of prospects you also can go into in life. Now, who is this creative child? This creative child is that child that is pumping everywhere. This child can really not sit down in a place to learn. This is that child that we can tag born socialite. They bond with people whether they know them from Adam or not, as though they knew them from the ages. They relate with people easily, effortlessly. These are people that are very optimistic about life. No matter what life throws at them, they bounce back and then they keep pushing ahead. These are people that are very playful. These children, very playful. They are very sociable and they are fun filled. They don't like any dull moments. When the environment is cool, calm, and collected, they feel like something is missing. And if you don't allow them to go out and play, mingle with friends, or just have their socializing time with people around them, they feel like no, 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 no. You're not making them to be who they are. So this kind of children, they are such children that if you leave your things, maybe you are the prim and proper kind of parent, and you are like the systemic parent that likes your things to be where you kept them. By the time you come back, oh yeah, they would have turned it upside down, scattered the whole place and all of that, because by nature they are disorganized. This is where your work comes to play, because when you understand their characteristics, you then begin to set in rules and begin to set in routines, begin to set in structures that will help them to turn out well, and that will turn their disadvantages to advantages for them, that will turn their extra to a blessing instead of a curse. Now, this kind of children loves attention. Imagine that I'm here going up and down, jumping, dancing, doing everything, and nobody's paying attention to me. I feel like, I'm not crazy now. Why is it that people now are not even doing like this thing? So because they do all of that, they want people to notice me. So they are the notice me kind of children. So you can take them to a party the very first time. They meet strange faces. They are not afraid. They are not rejecting. They might even be the first to approach another person to say, "Good morning, ma'am. My name is Bose. I live," and they're like, "Who sent you? Do you even know this person from Eden?" And you like, we are the same type of mommy or that you're like, "Hey, see this child, oh, this child don't sell me out." All right, this is who they are. Now, the next kind of child we talk about is the intimidating child. Some call them the courageous child. Their hinds are afraid of any situation. This kind of child, they are very energetic. They are full of energy. Even when they are sick, the energy in them is still active and alive for this kind of children. For some of them, when they are sick, that's the time you know that something is wrong with them, because you will not see them going up and down, doing everything they used to do, and be like, hey, I hope this child is not going to die. Because all the liveliness has gone and it will now look like they are lifeless. So these kind of children are energetic. They are also adventurous. They like to try new things, do things on their own, learn from things and situations around them. They just want to have the feel of how it looks like. And these two categories of children, the creative and the intimidating child, are on the side of extrovertedness, meaning that they they are people that relates easily, and on the extreme, sanguine is one, or creative child is number one on the list, whereby intimidating child then comes next in line. Then this kind of child that we'll talk about as intimidating is what we call born leader. If this child is the fourth child, maybe the last one in the house, their parents are afraid of leading the old people, the other siblings, no matter how old, or no matter the gap in their age difference, they are not afraid. You see them boss around their elder brother or sister and say, "Ah, bro, you to do this one, do that." I'm like, eh? You don't have respect. Don't you even know I'm your elder brother? Can't you don't you know I'm your elder sister? How would you then command without? Because naturally they have that ability in them to lead. So, but your duty as a parent is now to harness it properly, that it doesn't become buzziness for them. They don't become bossy and they don't become selfish because they have a tendency to be selfish. Because when things don't turn their own way, they get angry. They have what is in their head they want to do. So if you say do this, no, they don't want to do because they want to test out things. They just want to learn from things. They want things to go the way they want it to be. All right. So this kind of children too are determined. Once they make up their mind to do something, they are going to do it. No matter how hard it gets, they will just get in there. Even when they meet a stumbling block on the way, they will know how to navigate, and get the result because they are result oriented. And as we go along, you begin to understand other things about them. This kind of children, the intimidating child, they are sometimes argumentative. Why do you think it is so? It is so because they have an idea in their head. There's the way they have formed it in their head, and because they are leaders, they have the ability to carry people along. So they want people to follow them in that direction. So if there's anybody saying, no, 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 that cannot be it, this is what it is, they're like, what are you saying? And then the argument starts because they believe that their own idea is correct. But one of the things you want to teach this kind of children is to have the win-win approach to issues and situations. It doesn't have to be their ways all the time. Let's go further. This kind of courageous children, they are highly logical, regardless of whether they are male or female. You have just brought a situation their way. This is what happened, and when this happened, and that, and this, that. At the end of the day, they are not emotional. Even if the person who is at fault now is their siblings, and the other person who is in the situation is not their own person, is not their friend, or is not their child, or is not their friend rather, they would not fail to do what? To say the truth and reason logically and tell their sister or brother, as the case may be, that you are the one at fault. But if they were emotional, they were like, let me side my sibling. Because if I don't side my sibling, if you get home now, they will deal with me. So let me side. So, but because they are not emotional, which is also a weakness for them, because sometimes we are all emotional beings as humans. So we have to feel for people, put ourselves in the shoes of others, how it pains so that we can judge correctly. This is why, as a parent, you have the onus to be able to teach them from scratch and bring out the leadership skills in them because sometimes they could be selfish. They want things to go their way, and if things do not go their way, they're hungry, like I said earlier, and they could see every other person as enemies, and they might not even want to go in the route of relating with those people again or those their friends again who have decided not to buy their vision. And so this is why you have to teach these children the correct attributes of who a true leader is by asking them some scenario-based questions. Maybe when they act selfishly in the home, like, hello, Rodad, do you think what you have just done is what a correct leader would have done? Do you think that taking your brother's pair of socks and he doesn't have another one to wear, only for you to add to your own is the best that you would have done as a good leader? And then it will keep them thinking because they are logical. They'll start thinking like, oh, okay, it's true, it's not correct. And then they'll change. But if you give them the wrong labels, they will grow to become bossy and brutish. And this is one thing that is not good enough. Now, these kind of children also are result driven. Very productive set of children. Give them 100 things to do. They aren't going to complain, but they won't get there in a day. You have to also help them to be able to put in structures to help them to do their tasks line by line, step on step. And as they do it, it looks like they still have more room to take more more tasks to do. As they are doing this, they are having more energy for another. That's how they are. They aren't tired. They are always energetic. But this strength needs to be harnessed appropriately. This is why it looks like they are very activity driven. Because if you have results in your head that you want to achieve, there are a set of activities that will help you to achieve them. So this is what these children are naturally wired to do because they are born leaders, they are logical, whether they are male or female is not the issue. They are result driven. Give them many tasks to do. When they understand what is to be done, they set the ball rolling. They might make their mistakes, yes, but they will learn from it. So they are very courageous and brave. Now let's talk about the systemic child. The systemic child is that child that likes things to be prim and proper. It's that kind of child that will say they are perfectionists. You would even notice this trait in them maybe from the age of 7, 8. Everything in their room will be arranged properly to the tiniest pin. Why? It is natural for them to make things in order, set things based on order, set things based on how they should be. It's not burdensome for them. And naturally, these are children you will say that they are born analysts. Why? Because they are analytical in nature. When you bring, for instance, an innovation to a systemic child, that child thinks through what you have just said. Okay, okay. But this thing that you have just said we should do, I see a problem here. They are very critical. So because they are very critical and analytical, they are very detailed. So they can see even the tiniest detail that is going to maybe result into not having your expected result. They will see it from time because that's the natural endowment. All right. So this kind of children also are highly structured and they could be very secretive. They could do things under your nose and you will not know. If they are raped, it will take the mercy of God for you to know because they aren't going to tell any damn person. Whether good thing or bad thing happens to them, you will not know. It is good, it is also not good. But you need to then teach them how to be able to come out of their shell and speak up when things happen. When they have to speak, let them learn to speak. Now, the last kind of child is the dependable child, which we also call the sensitive child. This child is so sensitive in nature. Because of their sensitive nature, they are very caring and calm. So if this kind of child has a creative or an intimidating parent, it might be very hard for them to understand them because it will look like the environment is not friendly for them to stay. Okay, so this kind of children, they are born loyalists. They do not like rival, they don't like contention anywhere they are. They want things to happen peaceably, they want things to happen smoothly, easily, without any itch. But you know that life is not like that most of the times. There are times you have to fight your way through life and get results. So these are kinds of things you need to teach your child. So these kind of children also, they are loyal. You get money, you no get money, the child will not disown you and say this. No. Even when they grow up, they are very loyal friends of people that you can get. They're very loyal to the core. When you have one of them, you're already blessed because they could be people who call burden bearers. They are easygoing, and because they are easygoing does not mean they don't have their own issues. They do, and this is where your parenting help also comes in. We'll talk more about them later, and they show integrity. You can trust them for what they can do or what they cannot do because they are dependable. So in the thick and in the thin, you can vouch for them that no, this my child can do this but cannot do this. But as we have said, you also need to learn how to parent them and bring out the best in them and also harness the potentials they have. Then rewire their weaknesses to become strength. Now let's look at the further things about this kind of children, their expected behavior. So if you have a creative child, This child will be curious. They just want to know, but why is this light always on oh, every time you are cooking? So they might want to go and touch your gas cooker, off it and on it and just okay, so this how it happens. They are curious to know everything. And this kind of children also are very imaginative. A lot of things run in their head. So when you come and give them rules and regulations, maybe you are the kind of parent that is intimidating because this intimidating parent or whoever individual thrive with rules and regulations and also systemic. They thrive with rules and regulations. But creative child, they are not. But you need to also teach them to be able to embrace regulations, to be able to embrace standards, because life does not run haphazardly. Everywhere things work, they work because there are systems that is put in place, and systems are not emotional. So they do some nasty things that you don't want to imagine that they do. All in the name of curiosity, all in the name of just wanting to know, they will do it. And so if you have this kind of child, you can put a jug of water on the table, in fact, and by the time you come back, the child have turned it upside down and poured the whole water on the floor. What do you think the child is thinking? How is the water even coming out from the jug? How is it that when we turn the jug, water will come out? How is it that when we do this, water will come out? How is it? And so the child will carry the jug of water and turn it. Water is coming out. It's coming out. Hey. And you as the mother, like, is something wrong with you? Don't you know that when you carry water into pot, they don't know? Because by nature, that's how they are wired. And so when you understand this kind of children, if you got one of them, you just have your peace and parent with peace and say, okay, I know this is the kind of child I have. I will relate with them based on understanding and knowledge. Very important. This kind of children can be very passionate with whatever they believe in. And you will see them move here and there, talking about it, saying things about it, doing things for it. But if they don't believe it about that thing or vision, they ain't going to give a budge. Now, these kind of children also are resilient. Because of their optimistic nature, when they even pass through issues that are very, very disturbing, or issues that they get stuck on the way, they bounce back and get back on the track. Even when they fail, they don't see it as a problem. They see failure as a learning moment. They learn from it and move on. If you have this kind of children, they can turn everywhere in your house to art venue, begin to draw everywhere, sing, play, dance, jump up and down, do all of those things, paint everywhere, because because of their imaginative nature, they want to express what they are imagining by drawing, by painting, by expressing it through their body gestures and all. And these kind of children also are joyful exploration people. They like to explore. They just love exploration. They believe that enjoy your life, oh, life is fun. That's like the slogan. But you and I know that life is not all bed of roses. So we need to learn from all of this right here and there. Now, the next kind of child, the expected behavior of the intimidating child is that this child is brave. Ah, in the midst of um, of turbulence or whatever it is, they are brave. Whether mommy is at home, mommy is not at home, is not a problem for this kind of child. They can always navigate and find their way out of such issue. So this kind of child, you will see their brave nature come out even when it seems like nobody's going to turn out for this one. Everybody's going to hide. They will show their strength in the midst of that physical threat or danger. You see them come, yes, that kind of thing. So they show their strength when there is deadline, or where it seems like everybody have been called to heart, and everybody is running everywhere. This kind of child, that's when you see their strength really come out. They are very brave. They are very brave. They are very courageous. They are courageous in the sense that they stand up for what they know is right, even in the midst of difficulty, or whether it is popular or not popular. They learn to say no and stick to it. It's an inner strength for them. So they also display emotional courage. They display self-awareness, and vulnerability. Self-awareness in the sense that they know this is me. I might not be perfect, okay, but I have done this mistake. I take ownership of the mistake and I move on. All right. So this kind of intimidating child also are resilient, just like the the creative child. They are resilient in nature and they are persist, but they can persevere through situations. This means that when they decide to go for a course or anything like that, and it's really not turning out how they expected it, they don't bounce back and say, I don't think this will work and turn back. No, they keep pushing at it. They keep pushing through. Ah, this thing can get better. Let me push harder. Let me do this better. Let me do this. They keep pushing through. They persevere. Why do you think it is so? It is so because that result is in their head. They must get the result. Once an intimidating child understands what we are doing, for instance, in this family, they can give all their heart to it. They will not give a vote. Whether the rest agrees with it or not, it's not a problem for an intimidating child. One of the things you need to know about them is also is that they are determined. What they have set their minds on is one thing that propels them. That determination of their heart, they aren't going to bounce back on it. Once they make up their mind to do a course, they'll finish it. This is why it's good that you allow your child to begin to understand what is needed early in life for them to be able to embrace the right training and believe it for the rest of their lives and love it and act it out. Once you make them understand your family values, make them understand what you do as a family, why you do them, this kind of children will give all of their heart for it because they believe in it. And again, this kind of intimidating child can face fear. They can also face anything that appears very scary. They are not afraid. They can face the anxiety. When you say we don't know what holds tomorrow and all of that, and either ways, since they believe that this is what it is, I'll go in for it, even though I don't know tomorrow. But I know this is what I should do. I do it and then I move on. The next step, I know what to do. If I run into a ditch, I know how to navigate. This is what this kind of child is. They are very rugged and resilient. They are the kind of child you could call Odeshi kind of children. All right. So this kind of children also are competitive and could be bossy because of their leadership traits that they have. They could be competitive, like I explained the other time. They could be competitive and argumentative to say, no, 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 this is what I know it is. This is what it should be, and all of that. Because they have results in their head, that result, they can give in everything to go in for that thing until they get it solved and compete with others to make sure that they do what to get the result and come with the trophy. Yes, I've done it, dusted, and this is it. But sometimes they do it at the detriment of their health. They could do it at the detriment of relationship of their siblings or even their parents. So you want to begin to teach them the win-win approach. You need to then begin to teach them that life is not competition. Those who compare themselves with another are not wise. They could be bossy. You could be a correct leader without being bossy. This is one thing you want to begin to teach your child early in life and begin to live your life showing the true picture of a good leader. Let them know that leadership is not lording it over every other person, but leadership is service. To serve your siblings, to serve your father, to serve visitors, to render service to God, to render service to humanity. Let them live that servanthood kind of leadership. When they do this and imbibe this in their mind as little children, by the time they grow up, they won't turn away from it. Now, the systemic child, what are the expected behaviors? These kind of children are organized. You see them, anybody that takes their thing away from wherever they have kept it, moved it and hinge away from that place, they could be crazy with that person. And let me say that all of these characteristics and these types of children we're mentioning, every one of us actually have a fragment of all of this. You could have like a a 50-50-50-50%, or a 25-25-25-25% of each of these, or either proportion. But there is one that speaks more of you or speaks more of your child. And that is to let you know that this is the kind of child that this is. For those who know me, they know that I'm more of intimidating or courageous child. And I have a trait of systemic. That's to let you know that I have a blend of the courageous and systemic, but I'm more of a courageous child. When you understand that, it will help you to understand your child and helps you to be able to relate with them based on that understanding. Now, a systemic child is very critical, and their critical nature could make them just want to have the perfect result, not having any mistake anywhere. And pushing through this kind of process, at the end of the day, they might get stuck in the middle of the road, that they now feel like we can't continue this project again because it seems like the kind of perfection we want, we are not getting it. And once they are not getting it, they won't push further because they want things to be prim and proper. But you see, life is not like that. They also need to learn that it does not have to be 100% perfect. It is not in the perfection, but in the process. Have you gotten the process to a climax? Maybe 80%, 70%, you're good to go. Launch it. You will learn from the launch. You will learn from whatever you have done. You will also take in learnings and also apply. This is why we have great innovations. Okay, for instance, WhatsApp. When WhatsApp started, we know how it was, and in few years I mean, few years, even few months now, and few days ago, they just still upgraded WhatsApp. It means that they're innovating it. So, but if they want that perfect picture in their head to be what they will start with, they will never start with WhatsApp. They started somehow, and they're upgrading it day by day, month on month, year on year. Just few days ago, they've upgraded WhatsApp again. And then we can now connect to Meta AI, artificial intelligence. Why? Because it doesn't have to be perfect at the start. And see, everything of God starts small and grows big. And then that perfectness that you want, you keep going on that journey of perfection. Apologies, we ran into an technical itch. Okay, please confirm you can see my screen and that you can still hear me. We ran into an each technical each, and then we're back. I need you to confirm if you can see my screen, if you can also hear me, and then I move ahead. I was speaking about the systemic child, and one of the things you need to know again about this systemic child is that they are very serious. Very serious kind of children. So if you have any of your, maybe a friend or a colleague at work, and that is very serious, most likely they could be systemic. Now, this kind of children, if you have them as your children, one of the things you should consider is that they like to be alone. So if you want to punish them or you want to discipline them, you want to say, you not just go out and mingle with your friends again. Oh yeah, you're giving them the best place to stay. You're giving them the best habitat that will make the best come out of them. So they are not concerned. In fact, that's when you see them enter into the shell, become more creative, thinking and analytical about many things, begin to write down things and all. So this understanding will even help you to know the kind of discipline to put in place for any of this kind of child that you've got. Now let's talk about the dependable child, that child that you call sensitive. This kind of child could show extraordinary kindness, whether to visitor, to you, the parents, or to friends, beyond any kind of belief or their kind of maybe religion or whoever they are, gender or whatever. It doesn't matter to this kind of child. They are very kind-hearted people. This kind of child are such that they are also highly creative, and they can express their creativity through arts, through music, or through singing. This brings out the creative nature. You see this kind of child very quiet, very easygoing. This kind of child don't have trouble. They're very calm, cool, and collected. But this kind of sensitive child also hates contention. They don't want anyone to argue around them. They don't want anyone around them to fight. They just want peace. When everybody is saying, maybe you as intimidating parents saying, yes, I'm going to do this today because you did this and all of that. Or in the mind of the child is like, can we just have peace? Can we just stop all of this? This is the kind of nature that this kind of child would depict. And this kind of child, they are very deeply empathetic. They put themselves in the shoes of others, and they are willing to sacrifice for anyone, regardless of their color, their race, their religion, or whatever. Now, they could be highly intuitive too about people and situations. They could just have intuition about people, say like, I don't think this person likes me. I don't think the kind of environment I'm in is safe for me. You know how it is that a snail comes out, brings out its antenna, and is moving and is moving and is moving, and you bring out your finger close to it. The intuition the snail has to know that there's a finger close to me that makes the snail to withdraw the antenna and put it inside the shell. That's like how this dependable or sensitive child is. Hmm. I want to believe you are learning greatly. Like I'm also learning. And the weaknesses of these kinds of children, all of them have got their weaknesses. And you cannot say one is better than the other. This is why we said that you must learn to parent the kind of child you have. Because even you that have turned a parent or that will turn a parent are not perfect. You have your weaknesses, and then people still mingle with you, still relate with you, they're managing you in quotes. So how is it that you want to reject your child? Now, What's the weakness of a creative child? A creative child are very playful, and this kind of child loves fun. And if they don't get play, even when they are working in the midst of the work they do, they want to still play. They still want to play. All right. So there's a typo error on the slide. Apologies. So this kind of child, they love to play, and if they don't get play in anything they are doing, they feel like, no, I'm not wanted here. It feels like that environment is not conducive enough for them, and they might not be able to explore their real self. So this kind of child can talk too much, like you will see as a parent, but you want to harness that talkativeness to becoming a good orator, a good public speaker, and put into them skills they need to thrive in those areas. This kind of child can be very disorganized. You see, this kind of child are very disorganized kind of children. You then need to begin to teach them how to embrace routine, and how to do their chores, and how to put things in the right proper way they should go or they should be. This kind of children hate routines. They don't love routine at all. But this is the kind of child that actually needs routine because of their natural nature to be disorganized. So they need routine to keep them better than they are in their crudeness. Now, how about an intimidating child? That kind of child has her weaknesses to be that they don't know how to relate. They are insensitive to people's feeling. Okay, apologies. Let me check for something. So they are insensitive to people's feeling, and most of the time they could be selfish, and because of this selfish nature in them, it could make them to want to compete. It could make them to just not be sensitive to other people's feeling around them and just want things to go their own way. So we want to teach this child not to be bossy, because they could also be intimidating. They have the natural endowment to lead but not to intimidate others. And they are not doing it to intimidate others, but that is who they are. But they could be insensitive to people's feelings. So you want to teach them how to do what? To value relationship and how to treat people honorably. We'll get there. Now, a systemic child could be that kind of child that is highly critical, and their critical nature sometimes could frustrate them. Their perfectionism may want to also frustrate them, because when they don't get what they want, they drop it. At the end of the day, they become detached. So you can see a systemic child becoming detached when they are actually supposed, that is, they become withdrawn instead of moving with everyone as they move. But because things are not happening the way they have envisaged it to happen, then what will happen to them is that they just withdraw. They feel like this thing is not going to work. So sometimes they could be pessimistic. So you want to begin to turn these weaknesses to strength for them. It could also be overly analytical. It is good to be analytical because it will help them to be able to see details and pay attention to the details that every other person is not seeing. But when it becomes overly too much, it becomes a problem. This is where your role comes in as the parent that is intentional. They could be secretive. Oh, this kind of children can keep things in their mind. Very, very. I heard the story of one girl, I think at the age of 8, whose mother called the father on the phone, and while the phone was ringing, the caller's name there was Baby Two, and she handed over the phone to the dad. She didn't say anything, but she kept it in her mind that, who is this Baby Two calling my daddy? Okay, no problem. Then one day, the mother was far away and had to call. No, no. Then one day, the father had to call the mother. And by the time the phone was ringing, she now got to know that, oh, the Baby Two actually was my mother that called earlier on. that time, and this is a gap of few years apart. Where had she stopped it? Stored it. She stored it in her mind because they are wired to put in details in their mind. This kind of child, if you offend them, hey, if you don't begin to teach them how to forgive, they might hold grudges till Jesus comes. They might find it hard to forgive people. In their mind, they will pay you back when they have the slightest opportunity. So it is very, very destructive. And this is why you need to begin to train them to begin to voice out whatever people do to them. Things can touch them more than every other person because they're highly emotional set of people. Then for the sensitive child, the weakness is that sometimes they could be laid back. You see them, they will not move an inch except to give them a task and give them deadline. Then you see the strength in them come out. If you feel because naturally uh, they are laid back, then they don't have great potentials, that's a lie. These are children that can have good potentials to be leaders, great ones, once the right structures is put into them. But naturally, they could be laid back, like they don't even know what to do. They're just there, like life goes on, just are going easily with life. Whatever comes their way, they move. This is that kind of child that moves with the slogan, people do not do what you expect, they do what you expect. So if you do not inspect or monitor this child or give this child a deadline, this child is not going to move an inch. So if you must allow this child to deliver, then what thing you must do is to give deadline to this child, give tasks to this child, give routines to this child, let this child deliver based on the innate potentials they've got. This kind of child could be prone to depression because of their intuitive nature. Oh, she doesn't like me. Oh, that environment is not conducive for me. I can't thrive there. Even when that is not what it is, but because of that intuition they have, they could just be depressed, feel like people around them are not loving them enough, and they could tend to be closer to people who seem to love their kind of person and be vulnerable to them. Right? So this kind of child also, one of the things that is a weakness for them is that they are procrastinators. They procrastinate a lot. I will do it tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it next tomorrow. When tomorrow come and ask them, where is it? Actually. So one of the things you want to teach this child early enough is to begin to set routines and set goals for this child to begin to learn to deliver based on that goals. And we'll talk more about that. Now, their prospects. Where can these children thrive in life, in various fields of life? Where can they thrive? What kind of career can they do and that can bring out the best in them? Because for every kind of child, there's a kind of job or career path they need to go on that will bring out the best. A creative child will be a good scientist, will be a good inventionist. It will be such kind of child will be able to invent great things because of their imaginative nature. They will be very good hospitality kind of people. They because of their social nature, they could also be very good in the area of entertainment, whether in art or drama. They could also be very good public speaking if their talkativeness nature is harnessed appropriately. These are people that could also be digital creativity and creative people. These are people that could be good in coding, in game design, and in animations if their potential is harnessed on time and appropriately. How about the intimidating child? An intimidating child is that child that will be good pioneers. This is that child you want to call a trailblazer, a child that breaks the norm and sets the standard and allows others to also trailblaze with them. Okay, so this kind of child breaks what is called the average mentality. They break what we call this is how it has been, this is how it will always be. No, they have their own way of thinking to say no, but it can be this, and they don't mind if nobody is agreeing with them. They move, and as they move, they form their niche. Before you know, others also follow them because people feel that it seems like what she's saying or he's saying is correct. Okay, let's follow her. Why? Because they actually have the natural tendency to bring people along their way. Hmm. Now, they could be also good presidents. They could be good entrepreneurs. These are children that can start a very small business and make it grow bigger than it started because they are result driven, because they have a vision in their mind, because they know where they are going to. A systemic child could be good architect because you remember that we said they like things to be prim and proper. They pay attention to detail. And so if you want to be an architect, you know that paying attention to details is one thing that is very important. Otherwise, people will build house based on your prescription or based on your design, and then houses will be destroyed. And they also are good accountants. This kind of people are good accountants, they are good academia because they can read and retain a lot of things in their head. This kind of children can also be good consultants because of their nature to put in secrets in their mind. They won't tell anybody, so you can confide in them. Then this kind of dependable child, they are the child that you can call, they are very good in acts. They could be good artists. They could be prolific writer. They could also be an excellent author. They could author books, author things, author whatever it is, and they can also be great judge because they aren't biased. They are dependable because they have great insight to be able to have good intuition. This thing, no, 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 this one, nah, this one. So this having this understanding would help you to be able to know the kind of child you have and begin to harness the innate potentials in your child and help your child turn out better as they should. Then what are your parental roles for each of this child, regardless of which one you have got? If you have a creative child, then you need to inspire them. They like environment and people and things around them that will inspire them and bring out the innate imaginations in them. You need to also begin to build the public speaking skills. Don't say you talk too much. Can you keep quiet? Allow their curiosity to thrive. Only that you need to set boundaries for them and let them feel safe with you. You need to teach them relationship skills because they want to relate with everybody. They could relate with armed robbers and come and pack everything in your house because they are naturally very relational. But you need to teach them what to look for in relationship. You need to teach them who to make friends, who not to make friends. And when they have this on their fingertips, then they are good to go. Then if you have a courageous child, you want to teach this child to value, teach this child the value of restraint. Yes, they keep going, but there are times they need to restrain from doing some certain things. These are values you need to teach them. You need to also teach them the honor as a skill because sometimes, and most of the times, they are insensitive to emotions of people around them. So they might end up treating people anyhow. But when you teach this child to honor people, and it is more of a skill to this child. They begin to place people where they belong and honor them for the role each of them play in their lives. They will not begin to upsurge um, standards or begin to say, no, it must be my way. You need to teach these children to begin to learn the win-win approach. And this is still talking about honoring because if you honor people's idea, honor people's opinion, you will not even say your own opinion is the best. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a win-win. Okay, so how do you want us to do it? This is my idea, but if you say this is what it is, okay, so how do we do it? Then they do the win-win approach and then they get result. And every other person around them will not feel like it's bossing around us. It has to be his way or it has to be our way, otherwise we will not thrive. And so the next time you call them to ask them, what do we do? Even when they know they won't talk. Because they know that when they even talk, you will not use it. So they will keep quiet. But when you have taught this kind of child a win-win approach from onset, then this kind of child learns well and gets better to relate with people. Because their greatest deficiency is the fact that they are not relational. What is in their head is to get results. You want to teach this is reciprocal, and it has to start with you showing respect to this child, and in return, the child will show you respect. Simply teaching the child 5 golden rules. Say thank you, teach the child, say, I'm sorry, excuse me, pardon me, and all things needed in relating with people, in communicating with people. And when the child grows up, the child will begin and continue to use these skills. And you want to also teach this child to have what we call leadership skills. Truly, leaders are born, but leaders are also made. Remember that we said that a courageous child is a born leader. But even as true as this is, it is only in its crude nature. That born leadership skill needs to be harnessed to become a gold that can draw men to him or to her. And if that would be the result, one thing you must do is to begin to inculcate the leadership skills, communication skills, people management skills, and public speaking skills, every leadership skill, service, yes, that is needed for a good quality leader. Then you should begin to inculcate it into the life of the child, even from their little age. Now, how about the systemic child? You need to teach this child social skills because they like to stay on their own, and that's where they thrive more. But you need to teach the child because no one lives alone. Okay, so we relate with ourselves to get benefits, and what you need to thrive or to get to the next level in life is embedded in the life of somebody around you and all of that. So you then need to begin to teach this child how to relate safe with people. You need to also teach this child to share. I mean, you need to share logic with this child because this child is a very logical child that does not move or that is not moved by your emotions. Sweet talk of know the child of who you are, don't do this, don't do that. Oh, mm-mm. They need you to tell them logical things and wisdom based word that they know that this one is wisdom. This one that's no, I can't get it elsewhere. This one that mommy have just said no is logical. So if you tell this child, don't go and sleep in a boy's house. So if you sleep there, you get pregnant. The child like, just to sleep over, I'll not get pregnant. How is that? Oh, okay. So mommy, why should I not get sleep in a boy's house? And like, it's against the rule of God. God does not want us to do this. That. The child is like, is it not my body and all? But one of the things you need to teach this child is wisdom. From that commandment of God that you have known, there is wisdom that you need to apply that will make the child to buy whatever you have said. And logic is another thing. So you need to allow this child to also share their opinions on matters. You don't just bring the matter into their hand, bas, and think that that child will just accept it. You might have brought the idea and say, Roland, this is one thing I want to do. I imagine doing it 1, 2, 3, 4 this way. What do you think? You have just rolled the ball back to the child. Then the child will voice out and say, okay, can we do this? Can we do that? So you begin to allow them to bring out the best in them. Allow this child to think. They are good thinkers. Yeah, they can think from now to tomorrow. They can overthink. They think and you need to allow them think. So sometimes they want to be alone. Please allow them be. Okay, so allow them think through situations, through people, through circumstance, make them strong to face issues, especially emotional issues, because they are highly emotional. It could be on the positive or on the negative. So you want to teach them to begin to learn how to manage their emotions. So emotional intelligence is one great skill that this one has made. And if you have a dependable child, which you call the sensitive child, you need to teach this child to develop the leadership skills in them. They can be great leaders, even though they are not born leaders. But because they are not goal oriented, but when you give them goal, they agree with you. Give them deadline, they do it, they have it. So you then need to begin to set in rules, standards, goals, routines for this kind of child and give this child correct mentorship early in life that can help this child to turn out better and bring out the innate potentials inside of them. The empathy nature in them can make them to help the people they may be leading now or even in the future. This is one great skill needed for all leaders. You need to motivate this child a lot. Don't allow them begin to think that you don't love them or like them. You need to motivate them enough for them to buy your idea years. All right, now as we conclude, you need to know that the destiny of your child, the purpose that the child will fulfill on the head has already been encoded in your child. So your child is like a mystery. One of the things you must not do is not to kill that destiny they carry. You must not cover it from being seen by people who need them to be delivered by the grace they carry. You must not deny them expressing the great potentials inside of them. Don't say everywhere is in that is what the extra that God has put into the life of that child. Allow that child to express it. Do not hinder this child from becoming who he or she should be. But what should you do? Find these great extras, these great potentials you have seen in the life of your child to flame, support them. In fact, take them through series of trainings here and there that will help them to do it and become it quick enough. When you do this, you will look back and like, wow, hey, thanks to God that I allowed this child to do this, to do that, to do this, to do that. Because that is where their greatness lies. Find their skills, their innate potentials, and their strengths to flame. Allow them become who they've been wired to be. So also help them to harness their great innate potentials. Let them come to limelight. Put them into mentorship. A boy is needed to be in mentorship program from the age of 6. A girl child is needed to be in a mentorship program at the age of 8. Why tarry ye longer? These ones they are been given to you as great gifts needed for this as solutions to the problem and all the decadence in the world. Why not put in the values, the skills, the knowledge that is needed to make this child turn out as they should? Because kings are waiting to rise to the brightness of the shining of the life of your child. Why would you not arise and help your child by understanding who this child is and making this child to go through the route we should go so that when he grows, he will not depart from it. This is where we'll be stopping today. But I'd like to leave you with this food for thought. You are a co-creator with God, so you must be mindful of what you build on that foundation that God have already laid. And this foundation is your child. You need to also seek to have all the necessary parenting skills that you need. This is needed so you can help your child turn out excellent. If you lack these skills, your child will not turn out well. Remember, how a child turns out or whoever a child then turns out to be eventually is dependent on who raised the child. Is dependent on what the person that raised the child knows and is dependent on the environment that the child grew up from. I hope to get feedbacks from you, whether or not you have gotten values. If there are questions in your heart, there are clarity that you need based on this topic, please share. We'll be glad to hear from you. The call out, the profound things that have stood out germane for you in this edition of our monthly webinar on parenting. And we'll be glad to hear from you. You could also suggest to us what you would like us to speak on, and we'll be glad to hear from you. This is me saying good afternoon once again from Ogun State, Nigeria, and from this end, it is bye for now. Catch you some other time. God bless. Bye.